Alright everybody, this here is my next project. I was just handed this from a customer not more than 10 minutes ago. Straight shaft echo weed whacker, alright? Just by looking at this line head feed is a bit different. I get this feeling that it's not a bump head part, but that's fine. Okay, this part here will be greased, this will be greased. This here will be removed and cleaned up. We clean up all along the shaft here. The innards of this may or may not be taken apart, depending. And of course the engine here gets complete tear down and rebuild. Rebuild of everything. It'll be stripped right down to its main components. Analyzed and examined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down. I'm going to take a look at a few things. So I'm going to put it in this position right there. I'm going to press the throttle. Oh, so as you can see on top, that works. So that means the throttle line is not seized. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the cord, this here. Ooh, we got a lot of compression. And if you can pull it out, that means the engine is not seized. That means there's no seizure in the cylinder or the piston. The piston moves freely inside the cylinder, and all the moving components connected to the connecting rod and the crankshaft also move. It did not sound like there's anything rattling in here, so that is good. So technically, ladies and gentlemen, this should be a quick rebuild. And what we're going to start off is removing the air filter. We're going to get a look at the carburetor. We're going to take the cover off. We're going to take the spark plug out. We're going to analyze everything. I'm going to do a compression check before I do a complete teardown, so we have a reading on what it is and isn't. So we're going to work on that right now. Okay, so there's the compression reader. It's on 0. I'm going to give this a few turns. There we go. This has a compression rating of, if you can see it, 120, which means this thing is pristine condition. Good, good. Okay, so after taking off the air cover with the wing nuts, what I just seen here is this air filter absolutely needs to be washed out and clean and blown out. You could replace these, but I just don't have a spare air filter, so what I will do is wash this out and blow this out nicely, so that way this is all beautiful. But there's a lot of gunk in there which will prevent the proper airflow from getting inside. And so now what we have is a look at the carburetor and stuff. So the choke. This is the choke, eh? This is how it works. So, this is choke on, this is choke off. This is full throttle, choke on, choke off. That's how the choke seems to work on this. And what it looks like, I need to take a Phillips, take this off to access the carburetor, which is not a big deal. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I am dealing with long screws, and if you have a long screw, that means these two screws are holding everything together to the block. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're long. In this case, it is long, so I'm just going to take this one off and put it aside. As soon as I take this off, the carburetor and everything that's attached to the block is going to become loose. So here we go. Do not lose these for any reason whatsoever. Put them to a side so that way they don't get lost. It's important. Now we have the carburetor. So if I was to look carefully at it, it's the wig. Ooh. You know what? When I press the primer bulb, ooh, look what I'm seeing. I'm seeing something I really like. When I press the primer bulb, it fills up right to the brim. which means there is no leak in the primer bulb whatsoever, and this carburetor is a good carburetor, which means if that is filling up, then I don't need to mess around with this a whole lot. So what I'm going to do is take this off anyways. And the guy said he had it sitting for a year, and there's bad gas in it. So if there's bad gas in it, what that means is this needs to be flushed out, which is not a big deal. We're going to do a complete teardown anyways, just so you know what this all looks like. But now you know what a proper carburetor is supposed to act when you are pressing the primer bulb. It's supposed to fill up here when you're using it. That shows that the carburetor and everything, all the internal working components are working perfectly. Okay, so now I'm going to try to... Oh, well, you know what? This part here, I get a feeling that... I don't know if you can see it. This part here needs to come off. This seems to be one of the factors that holds this in. So this has got to come off here. And that looks like I got to use pliers or something. Hold on. Okay, so the line is off, and the way that you need to do it is this bit here fits into that slot, so you got to press the throttle in like that. You got to press it in. This brings it over to this side. Then you got to hold it and release the throttle, and then it comes out, and then you can just slide it over nicely over this slot here, and it comes through there nicely and easy. So there we go. We're just gonna put that, lay that right there. Looks like I got to disconnect those wires too eventually. And, oh, there we go. It's just popped right off. Whoa, okay, so. Looks like there's 3 lines coming out of the carburetor. One of these is attached to the air filter, the other is the return, and the other line is a pressure line, which means when there's too much pressure, negative or positive, this will release that. So this is just air pressure to prevent the tank from exploding under extreme heats or gas or what have you. So yeah, okay. What I'm going to do is just give you a visual what it looks like before I take that out. Okay. Oh, you know what? When you look inside this hole here, you can see the piston. And if I was to try to look inside the piston, I can see that the piston is pretty nice. There's nothing wrong with it. When I look on top of the spark plug hole, I can also see that there is 0 cracks or damage inside the cylinder wall. Just putting my flashlight up to it, and I'm putting I can see the cylinder wall. There's no scratches whatsoever. Okay, so that is wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect this from here and these wires too. Okay, so I went ahead and I removed these 4 screws, which are holding in the rewind. Rewind's not coming off yet, but I did take off the top cover. This one here, there's a screw there, which is that one, which lands right on top of that. It's for the spark plug cover. This is the muffler cover, which holds the back. There's a screw there, only 2 screws for the muffler cover. One is right there. You take those out. That slides off nicely. This comes off with no problem whatsoever, and then this is what you have. Okay, so in order for me to take this part off here, I need to use my Torx bit. I'll see if I can get that. So it looks like the air filter assembly is attached to this, and this attaches to the block. Gotta be careful how this goes in and out. There's a hole on the bottom, and there's a hole on the top, and I don't think it matters if this is upside down or right side up. It'll matter when we put it together, but now we have there's a gasket right there, if you can see that. Now we have a better look at the cylinder, if you can see it. I don't think you can see it, but it's right there. And the cylinder looks pretty spankin'. So here it is right there, eh? Alright. Okay, good. So, to take this cover off here, this nut here comes out, and there's another nut right there that comes out, and it looks like those two on the bottom come out there too, and this black thing looks like it comes out with another nut on here. So to take this off, this black cover, gas tank cover, will also come off. So I got the rewind off, and there looks to be the rewind, which catches the gear when you pull the cord. Alright, and I also got the bottom cover up. You see that hole right there? That hole is for this guy. That hole also holds in this guy. See that? It screws right into there. So you need the 4 holes, plus to remove that right there, and those 2 in the front. These 2 are long, and these 2 right here are short. So long, short, long, short. Okay, remember that. There's 4 of them. And usually with all my nuts and bolts and everything, I put them into a solution of CLR, and this is how I clean all my rusty shit. Get it nice and clean, and it's spotless when I remove them. Okay, so the muffler is out. This is what the muffler looks like for all of you. Want to see it? There was a whole bunch of dirt and grime and all that stuff. This doesn't look too bad. I'm just going to put that right there. That needs to be cleaned up. This is what the other side of the exhaust looks like. This needs to be all blown out and cleaned and rinsed and brushed out. And there we have this. Now this cover here is ready to come off. I just need to look at this to make sure that everything is in order, that there is the magneto kill switch. And like I said, this is the, I'll give you an idea. So this is the in, the out. This is the pressure relief valve for the gas tank, so there doesn't get any cracks or anything under pressure. Okay, I'm just gonna end it right there. Okay, so in order to get the gas tank off, these 2 screws are underneath at this hole here and that there, that recess. And these 2 are very distinguishable because they got washers on them. If you can take the washers off, that's it. These other washers that are stuck on there, they are not going to come off whatsoever. They are there permanently. So that is how you can differentiate what these 2 screws are for, because the washers will not come off. Okay, so now this gas tank can be removed just like that. You see that? And if you've noticed, it's still full of gas. I was able to remove this entire thing without spilling a drop of gas and damaging the tank. That's just how cool I am. That's what cool people do. Okay, so these now go into the solution to get cleaned, and now this here should be able to pop off if you just give it a couple bangs. Give a little light taps, but we're just going to look at it. Make sure there's nothing else underneath there to hold it together. It does not look like it, so that's exactly, I'm just going to put this camera down. I am going to put the camera down. Just like that. Oh, you know what? We'll do it on this angle. I'll do it on this angle here. Okay, now, light taps. So here we go. Ready? Does not look like it's come loose. Oh, you know what? I know. Okay. There we go. Just gotta pry it just a little bit. There is pins that match up this so that way it's dead center. So I'm just prying it lightly, and there we go. Comes out. There is this is a clutch by the looks of it, and there we go. The engine is now out. So look at that. You see that engine is now taken out completely. And as I was talking about, there's a pin right there, and there's a pin right there. Those go into those holes there, which make this nice and snug perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to put this to a side. I'm just going to put this on the ground right there. See that? And now we're just going to focus on this baby here. So we're going to do a pan. I'm just going to turn this around for everybody to look at. That is the clutch. When this spins out, this really, with the centripetal force of the motion of the engine, this will expand and catch the clutch. This is the exhaust side. This is the rewind side. See, it doesn't look too bad for dirt and ugliness. This is all the information on that sticker about the engine. Okay. In order to pop the cylinder head, these 4 holes right here, there are holes right there. You just stick a T something or other and then put it in there and take it out. However, as a result of the fact that I see nothing wrong with this engine when I pulled it, I am not going to strip this out completely, so you're not going to see the cylinder, you're not going to see the rings, you're not going to see the crankshaft or the connecting rod. All I'm going to do is just clean this all up nice and neatly. What I will do is I will look at that carburetor and everything else. So I'm going to use my solutions and get all that working right now. Okay, so that's all shined up, the engine. We got everything else all here shined up. Spick and span, everything is clean. And I drained out the gas tank out of there, cleaned everything out. Everything is spotless, wiped. And the nuts and the bolts are festering, and you see that white crusty, that white foamy stuff, that means it's reacting with the rust in there. And everything's going to be nice and beautiful. Oh, I still have yet to blow this out, which I will do right now. I'm going to look at the carburetor here, and remember I told you that this carburetor is full? Well, it's not leaking as I'm handling it, which means everything is working correctly. I'm going to press this primer bulb, and you're going to see which the gas comes out of. So here we go. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but I'm going to press it. Okay, so it's the bottom one. So the bottom one is the return back to the gas tank. The top one here sucks it in from the fuel filter. Okay, so depending which one of those lines right there is the fuel filter, that fuel filter hooks up to this one right here. This one is the return. So this is a Zama carburetor which has 2 screws on the bottom, which is where the diaphragm is that pumps the gas. And this top part here just has 3 screws in it when they're there. And this comes off, exposing this part. What I wanted to okay, you know what? I'm going to put this camera down and put it in a nice, more convenient position to show you things. Okay. This is the throttle, right? This is how it looks like when you're facing it. So the throttle opens it. So when you turn this, you hit the gas trigger, you go wham, wham, wham. opening that lets the air through into the cylinder, and in this cylinder hole there is actual jets that let the gas in. Those jets are right there underneath, and there's probably some up top here too, but yeah, so be mindful of that. That's this is what lets the air into the cylinder from the air filter. So now I'm going to take these two screws out. I'm going to take these two screws out, and we're going to have a look at the inside of the guts. Okay everybody, so this is the carburetor all stripped apart. This is the part that went into there. Those screws are 4 of them. Oh, you might have seen 3 on the bottom here, but there's 1 on the side here you need to pay attention to. And this part here, this is the old part that was on there. This is the new one that I have. I just happen to have a carburetor repair kit right there. So that it covers this. And this part here came off right here. So the primer bulb goes on top of here. Pay attention to this screw. Don't force it off because there's a screw there. This faces that part there. And those screws are meant for this. So do not get any of these screws mixed up. Otherwise you will mess everything up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow this out. I'm going to blow all the ports out, all the holes out. That screen there, I'm going to replace that. Everything will be nice and blown out and clean and fresh with my air compressor. Okay, and then I'm going to put it all back together. And here we go. Okay, so everything is all blown out with the air compressor. Everything's all cleaned up. Just going to put it together. Before I do, I went and took out the things on the fuel tank, and I want to show everybody how it looks. So the black one attaches to the fuel filter. The return is the clear one right here. This here is just the decompression for the fuel filter. So looking at this, the fuel filter attaches to the black line. Okay, so this is what you're gonna attach to that side that I said that sucks up the gas. Okay, so I went and blew out the fuel filter, and these ones are special, so you can actually put a generic fuel filter in here, but this one disconnects. You just put a screwdriver into there, it unlocks this part here, and then you can probably replace this. But I just blew it out. I blew all the air out of this, so it should be nice and clean, and it just fits in there nice and snug. You can just tuck it right in there, and everything just goes in magically. You just push it in, and it just yeah, just push it in. Just anyhow, yeah. So I'm going to put the carburetor together, and we're going to see if it drinks properly. Okay, so the carburetor is put together, and the moment of truth that we're going to find out is we're going to pump the primer bulb to see if it drinks this gas. Now, the way that it is supposed to happen is you're supposed to have a clear, solid flow of gas going into the carburetor, and a clear, solid flow of gas coming out. If there is air bubbles coming out of the carburetor, that means there is an air leak in here, and something is wrong. We're going to do that check right now. So, these two, we're going to the gas tank. I'm going to press the primer bulb. So, let's see here. How can I best do this? There's sunlight right there. Okay, so one in, one out. You can't see that too well, can you? So here we go. Pressing. So fuel is going in. I can see the fuel going in. It is now affecting inside the carburetor. There's no leaking of the carburetor. Just gotta press it a few times. There we go, the carburetor is filling up full of gas, the primer bulb is filling up full. You gotta press it about, several times just to get that primer bulb to fill up. So there we go, we got a full line of fuel coming out of the primer bulb. And when I look, okay, so just, okay, I'm going to try to put this down. So, if you can see the bulb there, it's full. I don't know if you can see it in the sunlight, but that's exactly what it's supposed to look like when you press it, okay? You press it down, all that comes up slowly and it fills it right up. There is no leak anywhere in there. There is a solid line of fuel coming out. Okay, do you see that? That's exactly what we are looking for. Solid line coming in, solid line going out. Okay, so therefore this carburetor is fixed. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no leaks absolutely whatsoever. So therefore I can now put this entire weed whacker together. And I'm gonna just... Oh. When you are done with your weed whacker, you need to flush it out. So empty the gas tank out. And then press this until they're... Okay, we're going to do... Yeah, let me put this down. So, you're going to empty the gas and you're going to press the primer bulb until there's no gas flowing in or out of the carburetor. Okay, you're flushing the gas out. You're emptying the gas out of the carburetor. If there's old gas in there, you're gonna flush it out, and this is the sound of empty gas tank. Okay, that's it. You keep doing that until there's no gas in the primer bulb, and then it is ready for the winter. Okay, everybody, we got this all put back together. Just gotta tighten that spark plug up a little bit more, but there's a little bit of gas in there. I'm gonna press the primer bulb and it should be sucking the gas in. Don't really think you can see it, but yeah, it's working. It's working exactly like it's supposed to be. The primer bulb is full, so there, yeah. So this here is our choke. This here is full choke. No choke, full choke, no choke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it. This here is our on-off switch. I didn't exactly get to look at the wiring on this, but we're about to find out if the wiring on this is actually good. So this is on. In order to pull this trigger, you need to hold this down, pull that, and this, frig, you can't even see that too well. So this part here adjusts the tension of the throttle line. So if you screw it in, this will be loose. If you screw it out, it'll put nice tension on it. So I got just a little bit of tension on it, so that way it's not too much play on it. And that end there hits the idle screw just nicely. So I'm going to put this down, I'm going to put the camera down, I'm going to tighten this up a little bit more, and then I'm going to try to start this up to see if this fires up. Okay, here we go. Okay, so as you can see, there's having a hard time starting, so I went and put my spark plug tester on it, and when I pull that thing there should light up. Hopefully you can see it light up. Yes, it is lighting up. That part there does light up when I pull it, so that means the ignition coil is good, which means the spark plug is good. Okay, so as you can see, I had a hard time starting this, and that's just because I had a blonde moment. So, if you can see this carburetor, as I had shown you, this part here is the part that spins that barrel shaft in there, right? The choking mechanism is attached to the air housing. What that means is there is no butterfly valve anywhere on this carburetor. When a carburetor looks like this and it's got that barrel friggin' shaft that's attached to the throttle line, that means you need to press the trigger when you are starting this weed whacker. If it was a butterfly valve, you could start it without touching it, but no. So we're going to try this again. That's on choke on air filter housing. When you're starting it, according to the owner's manual, which I will show you later today, you're going to press the trigger, put it on, press the trigger, and then start it. Okay, and then you take the choke off, you press the trigger, and then you start it again, and it should fire up. Okay, you need to press the trigger with this type of carburetor. Woohoo! I just thought about that overnight, and I was like, blatantly, obviously I didn't think about it, but you know, I had a blonde moment like I said. I'm going to take this part here, I'm going to tuck that right in. That's supposed to be tucked into there like that. There we go, that's it. Now I'm going to try to start this again for you guys. Give me a minute. Okay, test 2. Take 2. Pressing the primer ball. There we go. Pressing the trigger. Whoa! Okay, so did you see what happened there? It started up because I pressed the freaking trigger when I had it in choke. So, yeah, it runs. It's gonna run. It just I had a rough idle there. I'm gonna make those adjustments there. There's adjustment screws on there that I can make. I'm gonna work on that in a few seconds here. I just wanted everybody to see that freaking running. When you start it, you have to hit the freaking trigger. It says that in the owner's manual. Oh, like I said, I just had a blonde moment. So next video is going to be this all tuned up and how to tune it up. That's it. So before we do any carburetor adjustments on here to get this thing running, we need to make sure that this head is functioning properly. So I'm going to take it off. There's 2 screws here, a screw there, and one big one right here. I'm going to take this head off and grease it and oil it and put line onto this, because there's supposed to be a line on here whenever you're testing the speed of the carburetor. So I'm going to work on that right now, but I want to show everybody where the adjusting ports are. This here is where the low speed port is supposed to be, and I can't get at it because there's a cap covering it. You're supposed to take that cap out. On this particular model, that one there, this is metal. However, the port that is right there into there is plastic. It's a plastic cover with a slot head, flat head. So that's your high speed jet. Low speed, high speed, low speed, high speed. Okay, so before I adjust anything on this, I need to make sure that I have a line on that to get the proper speed for the cutting length on the head. And so I'm going to get this torn apart right now, and you're going to have a look at it. Okay, so here's what the head looks like. Once you have taken off all 3 of those screws, this head, this literally slides right out, and you can just drop it. Okay, so that is the shaft, which connects all the way over there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this all apart and grease the inside of here if we can. It doesn't look like we can. It looks like this is all one solid piece almost. Yeah. So we'll just take as much as we can off just to get this all cleaned up and greased out. Okay, so this is the top side of the head. This is the underside. So the underside goes underneath here, and those 4 screws come out. They pop out nicely. When you do, this is what you're going to see. Alright, now the line that you use, you feed it into the brass hole, and it goes out the other end right in the middle. When you do that, this here gear is what is catching it, and as you can see, it makes it so you cannot pull the line out. Alright, so when you put the line in, it goes in underneath, it catches that, goes in the other end, and you cannot pull the line out because this is preventing that. One of the things you have to pay attention to when you are reassembling this is that little spring right there. You see that spring? Okay, I'm going to show you something. That spring comes up and it presses against this, which gives it that motion to press against the line. This needs to be pushed out of the way by a pair of pliers as you put this in. So if you want to see what it looks like, on this side it's the exact same thing, and it springs back nicely. Okay, and it's sitting flush against the bottom, and this pin here sits up that much. If you were just to put this one in like this, and see, it's fixed, you see how much that pin is sticking up compared to that? That's just because this is now sitting on top of that spring. So adjust that, make that spring come out so it grabs it and pushes it nicely. And this is a bit dirty, so I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to put that back into there, and that is it for this part of the head. Then comes this part of the head. Okay, so everything here is all cleaned out. This part here has been greased. This part here has been greased. This has been cleaned out on both sides, top and the bottom. See that? Nice clean parts. So this can now go back onto there, just like that. See that? You just push it down, and then those 4 screws can go back onto here, and then this is ready to go. Okay? That is it for this head part, cleaning part. This is the cutting head all stripped out and cut, or cleaned out. Taking a pan of everything, right? Now, to get this off, I suspect it has a lot to do with that arrow and the fact that this hole lines up with a slot. You see that slot right there? There's a slot right there. I'm assuming that you stick something in that pin and then you can reef on this and twist it off. However, when I look at the turning function, this turns nice and easy. If you look into there, that's where the line connects into. It turns nice and easy. This hole here that we seen earlier with that big screw, that's just a grease hole. That's where you put your grease into to grease the head for it to turn nice and neatly. So what I did was I went and flushed it out with WD-40. I'm going to put some more grease into there later, and then this goes back onto it. Okay, so the head where it came off is this part here. This part has been nicely wiped clean for it to go back onto, and there is nothing more about this particular head that you need to know other than it's just 3 screws in there, which are simmering in a CLR solution I'm using to de-rust everything on. So I'm going to put this all back together, and it goes back onto the head. When we look at the head like this, there's a lot of grease on there. That's good. We're going to smear some more grease onto the opening there, and we're going to clean the shaft off here when we put that back on, and that will be that for the head. Okay, so here's the head. Everything is nice and clean up to there, spick and span, except the frickin' cover, of course. Look under there. Woo! There's no grass attached to anything. The line has been put in. I use a heavy duty line for that, and as I was talking about, when you look underneath, light slides in underneath there, huh? Now, totally depending on the strength of those teeth, you might be able to pull these out. You're not supposed to be able to pull these out, but you could. So that's how they go in. They slide into there, and that teeth grabs it, prevents it from coming out. It just grabs the cutter here. So this is all nice and cleaned. Freaking awesome. Now we can go ahead and start with our carburetor adjustments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it. I'm going to use this here to get under the high speed. I'm going to adjust the high speed to get it to run nicely. Alright, you see I'm missing a line there. So what that means is that tooth did not grab that line like it was supposed to, and it flew off somewhere. Who knows where the hell it went? I'm going to have to find out later. But all the carburetor adjustments on this have been made. Everything is good to go. When I let go of the throttle, it idled nicely. It accelerated after I adjusted the high carburetor jet. Therefore, this weed whacker is now good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an Echo SRM 230. My name is Sean Carlson from Blackjack 98 Enterprises. That will be all.